Good morning, Internet. Welcome to today's vlog. This is the third vlog in a series that I'm doing on my writing process. And if this is your first time watching my vlogs, then welcome. If you've been watching from the start, then welcome back. Let's get started. Before we get started today, I first want to say that in my previous two vlogs on brainstorming and planning, I may have given you some mixed messages. I talked about how planning out your story once you get an idea is good, but then I said it's good to not always plan everything out. What I meant was that it's a good habit to get into, to kind of sometimes just let creativity flow and not always have every little thing planned out, even though that may have sounded like what I said. I was just saying that in my second book I had a little bit more planned out than I did in the first book, but I still let things come to me as I was writing. I didn't have every little thing, in stone at the beginning. So that's kind of what I just wanted to clear up before we get moving today. Today's vlog is on the rough draft part of this process. Now, when I sit down to tackle my rough draft, I really try to stick to that skeleton outline that I talked about before as much as possible. This just comes back to that whole idea of, keeping with the original plan that you had for yourself, and that way you know that your story is heading in the general direction that you want it to go. I'm of course speaking in general terms, the big picture idea, because you should always allow yourself some room for some spontaneous creativity to take place. If an idea pops up along the way and you think maybe it'll add some flavor to the story or make it more dynamic, then try to incorporate it. And if you can do it without changing the overall picture of your outline, then that's good. Because a lot of times what happens is authors will try to add too many things, too many ideas, too many details to their outline. And what ends up happening most of the time is, because they're making too many changes, they're spending more time trying to amend the outline and plan the story again, because you had it planned already, and it's stalling their writing, and therefore it's stalling the publishing of the book. Adding ideas and details to your story as you write your rough draft is obviously fine, but just try to be mindful of how much time you're spending writing versus how much time you are spending amending the planned outline that you already have. The big idea behind all of this, of course, is to just get your writing out there. Flesh out your ideas on the page and worry about editing later. One of the most important parts of any story is the setting. Now, when an author writes the first draft, it's the first time that they can actually elaborate on the ideas of setting that they have in their head. Describing the setting effectively will draw the reader into the story and help them better relate to what's going on to the characters. If you've ever read The Hobbit or The Lord of the Rings, written by Tolkien, you'll know that there is a great amount of rich detail in those books regarding setting. And the movies, I think, did a good job of depicting that. If you've never seen the movies, then you'll have to take my word for it on this, but there are a lot of scenes that have sweeping vistas with mountains in the background, rolling hills, plateaus. There are scenes with dark forests, rivers, caves, all these different places, and the way that they're described in the books and that they're portrayed in the movie really helps make what's happening to the characters believable. If you don't establish a strong description for your setting, then the reader's not going to know where the story is taking place. It might give them a vague idea, but it's not going to make them truly believe in what's happening in your story. Talking about movies like this helps me transition into what I want to say next, which is, if you are writing and you need some inspiration on setting or just little details that you can't really seem to find for your setting, it's a good practice to watch movies and take notes. Maybe not actual physical pen and paper, but just keep in mind what strikes you, what stands out to you as you're watching movies, and maybe keep that in mind to use or somehow adapt to fit your story. Even though books and movies aren't the same medium, the stories in them have to play to our senses. They have to play to our emotions. So when you're writing, if you think of your story as a movie, which is what I do when I'm writing, that might help you think of how people will perceive it in terms of their, what they're reading and how they're thinking about it. In addition to watching movies for inspiration on setting or other details that you need, you can also search for photos online. There you can find a slew of photos of pretty much about anything. And if you're looking for especially landscapes, there are a lot of professional photos out there. On Google, you just give it a search, and you'll be surprised at what you can find and what you can take from that in terms of the details you can see and the way that you transition that into writing it to fit your story. anything like that to get your creative juices flowing, to just get your mind thinking in terms of describing your story, that will really help your writing. So those are my thoughts on writing a rough draft, and specifically on setting. Obviously more goes into writing a rough draft than setting, but I just figured I would talk about that briefly and make that kind of the focus for today's video. And speaking of rough drafts, I am currently working on the draft of my third book in my World War II collection, and I'm currently sitting at just over 2,500 words in the body of the book. So you can see there it's just over 2,500, and I think in my prologue and my epilogue there is, I think the word count is just over 4,200 or something like that. So you can do the math. Progress is being made, and hopefully we'll get some more words cranked out here over the coming weeks. So thanks for watching today, guys. If you liked the video, please give it a thumbs up. If you're not a subscriber yet, please subscribe. You'll see more videos like this coming your way on writing process. I'm sitting down here with the pets. If you've not seen these videos before, this is Zazu. This is my cat. Well, my wife's cat, but you know, 6 in one, half dozen in the other. And this is my dog, Nika. Hey. I don't think I have anything else for you guys. I'll leave the link in the description below to my GoFundMe campaign supporting the National World War II Museum down in Louisiana. And I haven't received any donations yet, so hopefully I'll get some here pretty soon. And I mentioned that in the last vlog, so you can check that out there, talk more about it there. Yeah, so thanks for watching, and I'll see you next week.